Hi everyone, so now we'll continue with the next video in the DPSP series, and this is the last one, which is the analysis part 3, wherein we'll talk about the conflict between the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy. Now, first the question that would come or that should come to your mind is that why there exists a conflict between these two. See, you know the basic difference between fundamental rights and DPSP, that the fundamental rights are justiciable and therefore can be enforced by the court of law if they are violated. On the other hand, we have the directive principles which are non-justiciable. Now, what can happen? There might be certain situations, and it has been noticed that there have been certain situations when the DPSPs become very important, or let's say they have wider importance as compared to the fundamental rights. But even if something has wider importance but is non-justiciable, then the question would be that in such cases, what should be the priority, right? And therefore, this was because this would become enforceable, this will not be enforceable, and therefore it was kind of seen in different cases by the judiciary that we need to figure out a solution for this conflict between the two most important aspects. Now, how the cases unfolded, that we'll try to see. Firstly, and couple of these things we have already done earlier also, because I had talked to you about the primacy of Article 39B and C, which are DPSPs with respect to the fundamental rights of Article 14 and 19. But that was in some other context. This will be a kind of revision for anybody who has seen that lecture. But this is needed to be done here because now that you have done the directive principles, you will understand the things better. तो 1951 में ये जो एक केस हुआ था, इसके बारे में भी आपसे बात करी थी पहले, which was the Champakam. Very important case, so you should remember. दुराई राजन केस. अच्छा, इस केस में क्या हुआ, व्हाट हैपेंड इन दिस केस वाज कि जो कोर्ट की गाइडलाइंस थी या कोर्ट का जो डायरेक्शंस था, द कोर्ट सेड दैट इफ there is a conflict between the fundamental right and the DPSP, then the fundamental rights would prevail. This was decided, okay? And it was also said that DPs or the directive principles would be subsidiary to the fundamental rights. It was also said that Parliament can amend the fundamental rights by passing constitutional amendment acts. अब तब तक तो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर जैसी कोई चीज़ आई नहीं थी, तब तक तो केशवानंद भारती केस हुआ नहीं था. So this was the judgment, and because the Parliament had got the right to make changes in the fundamental rights by bringing the constitutional amendment act, so the Parliament thought that we can bring these acts to implement the directive principles also, okay? Because that could be done by law. Making law which seeks to give effect to the directive principle, that was very much allowed. So they came up with certain constitutional acts like 1st, 4th, 7th to give effect to certain directive principles. यहाँ तक तो चीज़ें ठीक चलती आ रही थी when a major case happened in which things just turned upside down. If you remember, I had given you a separate video, a separate lecture on this particular case, the Golaknath case. If you remember, आप playlist में भी check कर सकते हैं, you will see a separate section on this. तो वहाँ पे आपको केस की पूरी डिटेल समझ आ जाएगी. Here we'll just do it in the context of the sequence that how the things unfolded. So this was the Golaknath case 1967. और यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, जो यहाँ पे डिसीजन आया था दैट पार्लियामेंट कैन अमेंड द फंडामेंटल राइट्स, यहाँ पे कोर्ट ने बोला दैट फंडामेंटल राइट्स can't be amended for DP's implementation. डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए आप फंडामेंटल राइट्स को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, बट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट तो लाया ही जा सकता है. हियर इट वॉज जस्ट सेड दैट what the parliament did was brought in these constitutional amendment acts to bring, or let's say to implement the directive principles. But here the judiciary said that fundamental rights to implement the directive principles cannot be amended. But normal amendments तो हो ही सकते हैं. तो पार्लियामेंट ने फिर भी क्या करा, दे केम अप विथ सर्टेन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट्स. इफ़ यू रिमेंबर, हमने इन दोनों को काफ़ी डिटेल में पढ़ा है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 24th एंड 25th. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पर क्या हुआ, यहाँ से इस एक्ट के थ्रू पार्लियामेंट ने ये बात बोली दैट पार्लियामेंट कैन abridge or take away fundamental rights. उन्होंने एक्ट में ही इस प्रोविजन को डाल दिया. By bringing the change in the constitution itself, they said that parliament has the power to take away or abridge any fundamental right by constitutional amendment acts. ये यहाँ पे कहा गया. और इस एक्ट के थ्रू they inserted article 31C, if you remember, which is an exception to fundamental rights. We have done that earlier. 31A, 31B, 31C are the exceptions in which this 31C was inserted by this amendment act. अब यहाँ पे ये बात हुई थी, इसके थ्रू इन्होंने क्या कहा, दो प्रोविजंस. एक प्रोविजन है जहाँ पे ये बोला गया that if any law is there, so no law which seeks to implement the socialistic directive principles of. Now that you have done this, I hope things should be very much smooth and clear to you. Article 39B and C, जो community resources वगैरह वाला articles हमने पढ़े थे. So if any law which tries to implement these directive principles, so it won't be void on the ground of contravention ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट. कौन कौन से फंडामेंटल राइट? आर्टिकल 14, 19 एंड 31 को इसमें कंसिडर किया गया था. दैट इफ़ एनी लॉ इज़ देयर एंड दैट वाज मेड थ्रू अ चेंज इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ओनली, कि इफ़ अ लॉ इज़ देयर विच इज़ ट्राइंग टू गिव इफेक्ट to these two directive principles 39B and 39C, then they will not be considered as void on the ground of saying that we are not giving you would say, let's say we are not implementing or this is being taken away. What fundamental rights? 14 equality, 19 freedom and 31 was property. तब तक तो था ही वो एक fundamental right. ठीक है. This was decided. The other thing that another provision that they did was that if any such law is there, so which is giving effect to such policy, no such law to be questioned in any court. कि कोई कोर्ट में वैसे किसी भी लॉ पे सवाल भी नहीं उठाया जाएगा विच इज़ ट्राइंग टू गिव इफेक्ट टू द डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स, ओके, ऑन द ग्राउंड्स ऑफ कॉन्ट्रवेंशन ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट. यहाँ पे गोलकनाथ केस में चीज़ें बिल्कुल बदल गई. अब यहाँ पर दे गेव द प्राइमेसी टू द डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स. अब यहाँ तक तो बोला गया था कि फंडामेंटल राइट्स विल प्रीवेल, बट और इस केस में ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोला गया है. बट अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के थ्रू पार्लियामेंट ने ये चेंज कर दिया. ठीक है. देन केम द लैंडमार्क केस 1973 में, केशवानंद भारती केस, जहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या बोला कि ये जो 31C का क्लॉज 2 है, ठीक है, केशवानंद भारती केस में द सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिक्लेयर्ड दिस एज अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, क्योंकि उसी केस में दे गेव द basic structure doctrine also, any such thing that the whole the constitution can be amended, even the fundamental rights can be amended, but anything which takes away the basic feature or the basic structure of the constitution, it cannot be done, it will be null and void. तो अब यहाँ पे तो ये डॉक्ट्रिन आ गया. तो इन्होंने क्या बोला कि जो जुडिशियल रिव्यू होता है, द पावर ऑफ द जुडिशरी टू रिव्यू एनी लेजिस्लेटिव एक्ट और एनी आर्बिट्रेरी एक्शन ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव, that is also a basic feature of the constitution. So judicial review is a basic feature and therefore you cannot bring in something like this saying that the court cannot question a law. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है. ठीक है. तो इस वाले प्रोविजन को तो अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल और इनवैलिड बोल दिया गया. However, this first one that giving primacy to the DPSPs, इसको valid बोला गया in the केशवानंद भारती केस. ठीक है. बट देन व्हाट हैपन, अच्छा यहाँ पे आई होप क्लियर कि आर्टिकल ये वाला जो है 31C का क्लॉज 1, तो 31C क्लॉज 1 वॉज वैलिड जहाँ पे DPSPs ऑफ आर्टिकल 39 B and C की प्राइमेसी रहेगी ओवर द फंडामेंटल राइट्स, ठीक है. बट आर्टिकल 31C क्लॉज 2 was unconstitutional on the ground that judicial review is also a basic feature of the constitution. Next what happened? So parliament, अब हर जगह आपको दिख रहा है that the parliament comes up with certain amendment acts. यहाँ पर भी आए, यहाँ पर भी आए, right? So here what the parliament did was 1976 में 42nd amendment act. What they did, they extended the scope of article 31C1, जिसको वैलिड बताया गया था, that 2 DPSPs would be prevailed over the fundamental rights. तो here what they thought was कि अब हमारा दूसरा वाला को तो जुडिशरी ने नकार दिया, तो what they thought was कि let's extend the scope of article 31C1 and let's say that not only these 2 DPSPs but all DPSPs would prevail over the fundamental rights. ऐसा इन्होंने यहाँ पे डिसाइड किया that now any DPSP, not only 39B or C, any would be considered here, ठीक है, over fundamental rights article 14, 19 and 31. But again things changed in the major case which is 1980 का मिनर्वा मिल केस. अगेन यहाँ पे हैपेंड कि ये जो एक्सटेंशन था इसको अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बोला गया. जुडिशरी ने बोला कि नो, दिस एक्सटेंशन इज अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एंड द ओल्ड पोजिशन वॉज देयर. वॉट वॉज द ओल्ड पोजिशन? दैट ओनली 39B and C will be prevailing over the fundamental rights of article 14 and 19. Why not 31? Because 31 as a right to property वो तो फिर पहले ही हट गया था, ठीक है. इफ़ यू रिमेंबर 44th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट से दैट वाज ऑलरेडी अबॉलिश्ड, तो वो 1978 में हुआ था. इसीलिए 80 तक आते आते ओनली 2 राइट्स वर लेफ्ट विच वर टू बी कंसिडर्ड कि इनके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इन दोनों की प्राइमेसी ही रहेगी, राइट. एंड यहीं पे ये बात की गई in this particular case that it is the responsibility also of the judiciary that the Indian constitution, they took care of the idea that Indian constitution is founded on the bedrock of, which means the base here is a balance. So if somebody asks you that talking about harmony and balance between fundamental right and DPSP was talked about in which case, it was this Minerva Mill case. Okay, so here it was said that the balance जो रहेगा between fundamental rights and DPSP, यही तो bedrock बनाता है हमारे constitution का. And therefore together both of these constitute the core of commitment that we have to any kind of social change or revolution that we're trying to bring in the society. And therefore if we try to give primacy to one over the other, it will just disturb the whole harmony of the constitution. और ये भी बोला गया कि harmony and balance between two means fundamental rights and DPSP is a basic feature of the constitution. A basic feature है तो इस harmony को it cannot be disturbed even by the constitutional amendment act. That was pretty simple. So if now after so many acts, because in every act the stance has been changed and you might get confused, but let's just sum it up that what is the present position with respect to this DPSP and fundamental rights wala thing. The present position is that fundamental rights will have supremacy in general over DPSPs, but Parliament can amend fundamental rights for implementing DPSPs till the time or so long as it does not damage or destroy the basic feature, right? और मिनर्वा मिल case से, which was 1980, already this was clear that DPs will in general be subordinate to fundamental rights, but fundamental rights conferred under Article 14 and 19, equality and freedom, will be subordinate to the directive principle, Article 39 B and C. The previous position was restored. And why not Article 31? As I just said, it was already abolished by 44th Amendment Act of 1978, right? Supreme Court had also made this remark earlier that the fundamental rights and the directive principles are the two wheels of the chariot. रथ के जो दो पहिए होते हैं वो हैं as an aid to make social and economic democracy a truism. अगर आपको सोशियो इकोनॉमिक डेमोक्रेसी रियल में लाना है तो दीज टू आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू बी डन. नाउ अ स्मॉल सेक्शन आई डू फॉर यू विच टॉक्स अबाउट द रोल ऑफ जुडिशरी. ये तो हमने समझा कि हाँ ठीक है, हारमनी इंपॉर्टेंट है, जुडिशरी ने इसकी बात भी की है, दैट इज़ अ बेसिक फीचर ऑल्सो, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज़ ओके. बट हैज़ देयर बीन अ केस स्टडी काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग और अ एग्जाम्पल टू बी कोटेड वेर इन वी कैन सी दैट द रोल ऑफ जुडिशरी क्या रहा है in maintaining this harmony, so in harmonizing the fundamental rights and DPs क्या रहा है. तो एक एग्जाम्पल है विच इज़ इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ एजुकेशन. ठीक है, you know with the help of the previous lecture, especially the right to education act जो हमने article 21A में करा था in the fundamental rights, the three things related to education in fundamental right, in DPSP and in fundamental duty. You know about it. But let's just try and see कि उसका implication यहाँ पे कैसे रहा. See, अब क्या था कि as per the content of Article 45, which is a directive principle, it was already said earlier. We are not talking about the amendment yet. So the current wordings of this article are different. It is talking about the early childhood care. 6 साल से पहले के बच्चों के केयर और एजुकेशन के बारे में. बट पहले इट वॉज टॉकिंग अबाउट द एजुकेशन इन जनरल. तो आर्टिकल 45 वॉज टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट it was giving the idea that how important is the education. And the founding fathers also, by including this, had said that the objectives under this article should definitely be achieved, and they gave a time period of 10 years. ठीक है, कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अडॉप्शन से 10 साल तक ऐसा कुछ आ जाना चाहिए एजुकेशन को लेके, बिकॉज दैट इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, विच मीन्स कि 1960 तक आ जाना चाहिए. But because of the unresponsive attitude of the government, as such no initiative was taken for this. ठीक है, for the education which was of so prime importance. So then the judiciary started showing interest in this issue. और 1992 में एक केस में judiciary, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा that right to education is a fundamental right under article 21. अभी तक 21A आया नहीं है, okay? और ना तो राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट बना है टिल दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. इट वॉज जस्ट दैट द सुप्रीम कोर्ट saw that the government was supposed to take an action till 1960 only with respect to education, but it is already 1990s and there has been no as such initiative taken. So the judiciary started to take an interest. How we are talking about harmonizing fundamental right and DPSP, because this was a DPSP, I mean this was a directive, and later we will see कि ये फंडामेंटल राइट की बात हो रही है, therefore the balance. So the Supreme Court said that right to education is a fundamental right under Article 21. And what is 21? It talks about life and personal liberty. So it was said that right to life is a broader expression, and it definitely includes those rights जहाँ पर कि हम एक डिग्निफाइड enjoyment of life की बात करते हैं. और definitely how can you have a dignified life without right to education? Very very simple and like obvious remark to be made, but the government had not taken any steps about it. Now the Supreme Court also said कि अब गवर्नमेंट जो है उनको ऑब्लिगेशन रहेगा that they provide the educational facilities at all the levels. प्लीज़ नोटिस हियर, यहाँ पे जो एजुकेशन फैसिलिटीज़ की बात की गई थी in 1992, it was said that it should be done at all levels of education. Primary, secondary. I found one option, facilities management. Very sorry for that. That AI thing just got touched by mistake. Anyways, carrying forward with that. So this is how we see that how technology at times makes our work easier and at times just creates things so messy. Anyways, so the educational facilities की बात की गई at all the levels. ठीक है, this was decided by the court then. but later in another case in the very next year only they partly overruled the previous judgment. और यहाँ इन्होंने बोला कि ओके RT इज़ लाइक implicit under this article, वो तो है ही, and we need to implement it also, we need to interpret also in terms of DPSP. बट उन्होंने बोला कि जो स्टेट्स की ऑब्लिगेशन की हमने बात की थी दैट यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड फ्री एजुकेशन एट ऑल लेवल, नाउ दे सेड दैट right to education should be only till 14 years, because they understood that beyond that age, beyond 14 years, beyond that age, the situations, the education free right would be based on the limits of the economic capacity of the state, because they understood that the economic capacity, और वैसे भी 1991 में हमारे इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स हुए थे, so things were not like very smooth or suitable in the country. Things were changing. Definitely it was for the good, but then things were changing in a transitionary state, and it was not feasible to provide free education and compulsory education at all the levels. Therefore they reduced it to कि state का वो obligation सिर्फ 14 साल तक ही करने का है, आप उतना तक कर लीजिए, ठीक है. Then in further another year also, 1997 Supreme Court again talked about the compulsory education, और उन्होंने कहा that this is something which is very important for a democracy, for social integration, to eliminate any kind of social evils. So here we understand that how the Supreme Court tried to harmonize both the things, कि पार्ट 3 जो फंडामेंटल राइट है एंड पार्ट 4 द डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स, उसको मिला के RTE को एक बेसिक फंडामेंटल राइट की बात उन्होंने कर दी. But then what was the role of the government? यहाँ तक तो judiciary played its role. Government came up with something, and they came up with 86 Amendment Act. Although it took a lot of time to do that, it happened in the year 2002, wherein they added Article 21A in Constitution, जहाँ पे specifically Right to Education Act की बात की गई. उसके अलावा भी आपको पता है कि they changed the wordings of this DPSP, जहाँ अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर की बात की गई, और फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी में भी एक सब हेडिंग जो हम अगले क्लास में पढ़ेंगे ऐड किया गया, जहाँ पे उन्होंने बात की कि पेरेंट्स की भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है अपने वार्ड्स को एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड करवाना. राइट, आई होप नाउ थिंग शुड बी क्लियर टू यू. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस सेक्शन, आपके बुक में एक छोटा सा और सेक्शन है, this section which will talk about the implementation of the directive principles. So this is something that you can please see. This is actually just talking about how the governments have taken different steps toward implementing the several directive principles. तो जैसे प्लानिंग कमीशन का अपना वर्क था, फिर बाद में वो नीति आयोग से रिप्लेस हो गया. Then they have also talked about कि in what all context they have worked, like land reforms के केस में, wages के केस में, ऐसे कितने सारे acts बनाए maternity women के लिए. So there is just a whole list of it. environment के लिए, यहाँ पे community के लिए, यहाँ पे बाकी ये खादी विलेज, आपको याद है ना कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री वगैरह, देयर वाज एन ऑप्शन इन दैट, आई मीन अ डायरेक्टिव इन दैट. तो जस्ट गो थ्रू इट सो दैट यू गेट एन आइडिया कि क्या क्या स्टेप्स जो हैं वो लिए गए. इसमें नथिंग इज़ टू बी टॉट, दिस इज़ जस्ट द लिस्ट ऑफ द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, and this is a huge list. You can just easily read it whenever you have time. And then there is a smaller section which talks about the directives outside part 4. Basically it talks about कि part 4 जैसे उसमें भी थे ना कुछ rights outside part 3. Similarly there are certain directives which are outside part 4 also, but they are also directives. जैसे कि SCs और STs के लिए क्लेम्स सर्विसेज की बात की गई है, मतलब सर्विसेज में क्लेम्स की बात की गई है, वो कहाँ दिया हुआ है दिस आर्टिकल में. ऑल्दो विल बी डूइंग ऑल ऑफ दीज एट सेवरल पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, जब वो टॉपिक्स आएंगे. अभी के लिए आई एम जस्ट शोइंग यू ताकि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, अपॉइंटमेंट में, पोस्ट वगैरह में हम उनको कंसिडर कर सकें. मदर लैंग्वेज में इंस्ट्रक्शन की बात की गई है, और ये 350A आर्टिकल है पार्ट 17 का, एंड हिंदी लैंग्वेज के डेवलपमेंट की बात की गई है. डेफिनेटली दीज डायरेक्टिव्स विल ऑल्सो बी नॉन जस्टिसिएबल इन नेचर, बट इम्पॉर्टेंस और अटेंशन उनको उतना ही मिल रहा है. प्रीलिम्स में दे माइट आस्क यू दीज क्वेश्चंस गिविंग दीज ऑप्शंस एंड सेइंग कि ये पार्ट 4 में है कि नहीं. डायरेक्टिव्स तो ये भी हैं, these are also directives and this is also directive. It's just a difference कि ये कौन से parts में है. तो you can see this is another part, this is another part, this is another part. So just for that sake prelims के लिए just remember this point. With this I end my discussion on the directive principles, and in the next class we'll have a discussion on the fundamental duties. So see you guys in the next video. Take care. Till then, bye bye.